So where were we? Questions about, let's say more about the one of harming sentient beings. Yeah, thanks. Put mine, yeah. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Okay. Yeah, the really big picture is this, you know, this, the nature of this suffering samsara is, okay, the Buddha's view about sentient beings, this is actually taken from the Vajrayana, but it's really helpful to understand. There's only two types of phenomena in the universe. There's matter, which is made of the four elements, okay? Earth, air, fire, water, that's it. And then there's minds. And they've got this really intimate relationship. This is according to the Vajrayana. It's very fascinating. And this is the Tibetan medical system. So they say that, you know, we've got the physical universe and we have the mind. So if we are, and this mind of ours, all minds, all sentient beings, all the hell beings, all the spirits, all the gods, all the humans, all the animals, trillions upon trillions upon countless trillions upon countless trillions of sentient beings, mind possessors. So that the nature of the universe is such that all minds are inextricably linked to their own set of the four elements. It's just the way it is. So, as Lama Zopa said, in the Kalachakra Tantra, there are these detailed descriptions of the intimate relationship between internal and external energy. That means internal is mind, consciousness, which is not physical, and then external means the four elements. So the most immediate four elements are the ones connected to our mind. So, you know, we're made up of gross consciousness, which is inextricably linked to this bag of bones, you know. Gross, and then we've got subtle consciousness, and that's inextricably linked to the subtler physical energies, which is this subtle nervous system. They say there's 72,000 subtle channels throughout our entire body, subtle physical energy, through which courses or runs all these wind energies, and there's many kinds of them. And this is the basis of Tibetan medical health system. And all of our different states of mind are connected to those winds. So when your Tibetan doctor feels your pulses, she will feel the imbalance of certain winds, which she knows are connected to your attachment, which causes all your anxiety and your panic attacks. So by taking your certain herbal medicine, which then calms your wind energy down, this in turn helps your mind calm down. It's the Tibetan medical system. It's based completely on this model. So the mind and the body are intimately connected to the subtlest degree. And then we have very subtle consciousness, and this is the process of death. We'll go through this. Your gradual deconstruction of the gross to the subtle to the very subtle, of both the physical and the mental energies. And we subsume all to the subtlest level, which is called extremely subtle mind, which is inextricably linked with an extremely subtle wind energy, which is the subtlest of the four elements. So this is how we used to, I mean, we used to talk in the Middle Ages about the four elements, didn't we? That was the basis then even of health. Of course, now we've got all these other elements, but this is still the model in Buddhism. So the point I'm getting at is this. This universe is made of the four elements. And this is where karma fits in. So as Lama Zopa says, when the mind, for example, is angry, let's say, for example, that impacts upon your wind energies, which in turn karmically causes sickness. Which in turn karmically, even over a longer time, countless lifetimes, this impacts upon the external elements, which then manifest in the environments that we live in. So this physical environment is the fruit of the karmic actions of billions of sentient beings. So the elements have no power from their own side. That's a general point. But then the point here is, if the whole universe is made of the four elements, and all there are trillions of minds, then you could, and all minds are connected to their own set of the four elements, well then you could argue that wherever there are the four elements, it's a conducive environment for sentient beings to be born there. So our body, we know this physical body, is like a walking zoo. We know that, just under your armpit, your mouth. Billions of sentient beings are living there. So there's not an atom of physical space where you won't find sentient beings. Throughout the body, in the cushion, on the floor, in the air, where it's pervaded by sentient beings, you know. That's the broadest point. So given that, then it logically follows just breathing. We are slaughtering sentient beings, walking, talking, eating. We are killing, harming countless sentient beings. It's unavoidable. It's the nature of this nightmarish samsara that we all live in. So given that, then at least all we can do to guide ourselves out of this nightmare is have first and foremost start with the thought, junior school, grade 1, entry level. When you meet a sentient being that you can recognize as a sentient being, try not to harm it. What else can we do, you know? What else can we do? And then even more broadly, try and be wise enough to do actions to not harm sentient beings. But that's impossible. I mean, even if you sat here, did nothing, even if you didn't breathe, if you closed your mouth and never even breathed, you're still harming sentient beings. It's the nature. So at least we start with the intention and then live in vows, which is even more powerful, which purifies us of the negative karma, but also purifies our wish to keep harming and wants us and helps us create virtue, and then even prevents us from having to harm. I mean, the very fact that we might live a life, some people live lives just harmed by countless sentient beings, many bugs and rats and cockroaches, and like in India it's like Jurassic Park in the rainy season, you know, it really is. So we are so fortunate that even just right here now, there's no sentient being harming us, you know. This is due to our past virtue of non-killing. So we are born in an environment where we don't even have to kill. How fortunate we are. Incredible. So there's like a bigger picture. So in general, we do what we can. So then, okay, my personal comment on the one about eating meat is because we're so attached to food. We're obsessed with eating, you know. So any action to do with eating, I mean, and even I have, like on one time, I always tell this story, on my Facebook page. Someone does it for me, I don't even know how to get into it, but I put a picture of me, this is years ago in Liverpool, in this cheese shop, buying some kick-ass cheddar. You know, there's Americans saying kick-ass, right? So then this fundamentalist vegans were shocked. How dare a Buddhist nun eat cheese? All these lectures, you know. So I don't like to be I don't want to be political and tell people what to do. It's very rude. But you know, I always wondered how many bugs get slaughtered on the road when you drive cars. You know, sure enough, you Google it, someone's done the homework. So this Dutch fellow, I don't know, I forget the details, but it was like trillions of little bugs just on the number plate. Per kilometre, per car, per whatever, gets slaughtered. Now, we don't think about them. No one goes on about the bugs. We might go on about the kangaroos and the deers because they're big and they look like, they've got tails and look like us, you know, with eyes and everything. But little tiny bugs, we go, oh, well, you can't help it. Now, the same, I put another story on, and, oh, yeah, that's right, and then one of the fundamentalists said, oh, you mean I shouldn't drive a car? Well, I didn't say anything, you know, and I didn't want to be political, so I didn't say vegans and vegetarians drive cars, you know. But because you're not eating the bugs, we seem to not care. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then certainly when it comes to vegetarian food, I mean, this is a fact. I mean, this is where I put another story on, and then I got no comment at all from this story. But one guy really argued with it. And this scientist in Australia, it must be everywhere it's like this, but it happened to be I read this story. There's this wheat field. And in the off-season, millions and millions of these cute little field mice gather there, live there. And he had photos of them. He said they sing love songs to each other. They're so cute. But of course, what are you going to do when you have to grow the wheat? You kill the millions of field mice. Now, I even put that story on and there was no comment. But one guy commented. He said, that doesn't matter. You can't help that, he said. So in other words, because we don't eat those mice, we don't care if they died for the holy vegans and vegetarians. Of course, the meat eaters, some of the wheat was to feed the cows for the meat eaters, but 80% probably was for the vegans and vegetarians. But how can we think it doesn't matter? But that just shows how ridiculous we are. As soon as you're not eating them, it doesn't matter somehow. That's bizarre. That really shows how extremely irrational we are, you know? So you can't avoid it, which doesn't mean you go, oh, well, I don't care, let me eat fish. That's not the point. Because the other aspect of it is, and this is the crucial point about karma, there's two things going on all the time. You know, like Chuck's point about the karma of the baby being killed and the karma of me to kill the baby. There's two people in this little tennis match together creating karma, you know. So there's two things. So the key point I was trying to make before, when it came to those four points in place in order for that action when I kill the mouse to be a negative seed to drop into my main bank vault such that it will ripen as many future suffering rebirths, the key factor in determining that is the number 2 point, which is my intention to kill. But even more important than that was my motivation. Now, I think if we think this through, it really is logical. So let's say, you know, Kevin has a mouse. And he sees that the mouse is really suffering. Like he stood on the mouse and didn't mean to, and then he sees it's really suffering. So of course we think, oh my God, we must stop the mouse's suffering. And that's what in our culture, because we don't think the mouse will continue a rebirth. We just think when you kill the mouse, you stop the suffering. We call it euthanasia, don't we? Do you see my point? So we really do mean well. You don't want to harm your grandma. You're in tears. You love your grandma, but you're compassionate. But because based on the philosophy that her mind will end when she dies, you think you're helping stop your grandma's suffering. You're helping stop the mouse's suffering. Now that's a view, isn't it? It's a viewpoint. Buddha would disagree. The mouse's mind will continue. The grandma's mind will continue. And the fact is, let's say Kevin, out of compassion, Of course, it's like before, like his other story. It's also mixed with his attachment. He can't stand to see the suffering mouse, so he must get rid of it, as well as compassion. But he did mean well. You could argue he didn't create much negative karma, which is really the point I'm making here, is that the motivation for what you do, even more than the intention to do it, is the key factor that determines the character of the action you do, which in turn is what's determining whether it's so-called negative or positive, which determines the seed you plant, which determines the future results. So, but meaning well is not enough, as Lama Zopa said. Fine for Kevin, but it may be not fine for the mouse, but we never bother about that. You should ask the question, well, I wonder, Kevin should think, well, I wonder if I did benefit the mouse. Well, you know, it depends on the karmic seed in the mouse's mind at the time he killed it that was triggered, that will determine its future life. So let's say his poor old mouse is already freaking out. He just stood on it. And now he's having a panic attack, the poor mouse. And then he goes and kills it. So his poor ego is freaking out, which is more than likely to trigger a non-virtuous karmic seed in the mouse's bank vault, which will throw it into an even worse rebirth. So he put the mouse from the frying pan into the fire. And the same with your grandma. So meaning well is not enough, is the first point. But nevertheless, from his point of view, you could argue there wasn't much negative karma there, because the motivation is the key. Now, this is not saying go around killing people out of a good motivation. That's not what's being said at all. It's making the point that the motivation, but meaning well is not enough. You've got to have wisdom as well. Then your actions are really powerful. So, that was leading to one other point. And I forget. Never mind. Are we communicating here? So we do what we can, you know. And this is why vows, now maybe it's appropriate time to talk about the vows. Buddha loves his vows. He says vows are so amazing. And they even say in the text that a vow is like a subtle physical form visible to clairvoyance. It's so potent. So what a vow is for the Buddha, you know, is it, okay, we have in Buddhism, we have things we say we have a commitment to do something. We agree, like shake hands with your Lama. When you take an empowerment, he gets you to say 6 mantras every day. So you like shake hands and you sign a contract and you agree to the commitment to do 6 mantras every day. It's your commitment, your word of honor, you know. They call it that, samaya. But there's also vows, and a vow is so commitment is a decision to do something, and a vow is a decision to refrain from something. And Buddha thinks, and Buddha's really, they say the kind of the infrastructure of a really good practice is keeping pure vows. There's something psychologically very powerful about that. So, okay, let me explain the logic of that. So, you know, as we said before, right, you know, the key point in when you do an action. So, here's another example. Let's say Venerable Children has a mouse in her kitchen. And let's say so the first point, there's a mouse. Second point, intention to kill it. No, she doesn't see it. Therefore, there can't be a motivation. She doesn't see the mouse. So number 2 is missing completely. 3, her foot stands on the mouse. 4, dead mouse. 0 karma. You could argue that, because the mind wasn't involved. Now, that doesn't mean it gets you off any hook. We're as thick as posts. Maybe at the same time she was drunk trying to kill me, if she wasn't a nun, you know. Do you understand? So then she's creating that negative karma, but not the karma of killing a mouse, because there's no intention. So this is it's very intricate, and there's a million things at once that we're all doing. So when we really have, you know, advanced knowledge of our mind, then we really can be in charge of this process. But the point is, the key point is intention and motivation are what run the whole law of karma, because it's the mind that does it. Without the mind involved, how can you say there's karma? Karma means intention. You can't. It's not possible. You could argue this, the Hinayana, and they have different views, you know, about this one. Nevertheless, so okay, that's that point. So she creates no karma. He doesn't create much negative karma. Each of us had a mouse that died. The difference is 3 mouse dead, 3 dead mouse, they're unhappy, okay? But 3 different people with 3 different scenarios, 3 different kinds of karma. This is inevitable. So there's always 2 things. But the other point, now the second point is, that's what I'm getting at about now killing or not eating the fish or whatever. We have to look at the karma of the mouse. Now maybe my mouse, maybe I'm living next door to a holy Buddhist. And my mouse, as I'm killing it with anger, hears a mantra, and that mantra goes into the mouse's mind, and the Buddha grabs his little mind, and it gets a perfect human rebirth. Well, I've got a lucky mouse, but no luck to me. I create heavy negative karma, because I was angry with that mouse and tried to kill it. But lucky mouse died well and got a decent human birth. Maybe Kevin's mouse, he's full of compassion, but his poor mouse goes to the lower realms and gets even a worse birth, because he's freaking out completely. So he might have meant well, fine for him. It doesn't mean about the karma of the mouse. It's 2 separate things. 1 is the karma of the mouse, what happens when it dies, and 2 is the karma we create. Same with the baby I killed, you know. So there's many scenarios. So what I'm saying is, at least if we can have the motivation to not eat meat because the motivation is compassion. It doesn't mean you kill, don't hold your breath and think suddenly no creatures get dead because you are a holy vegan and don't eat them. That's naive and bizarre. But you create really good virtuous karma because your motivation is pure. Do you understand my point? If you're a vegan because you want to be more healthy, that's not virtue, that's samsara. You're not killing, you're not, you know, but are we communicating here? There's many things to look at, you know. So one is you've first got to be concerned with the karma we create. We can't run around trying to change the whole universe yet. We've got to at least protect ourselves from creating as much negative karma as we can, knowing by our very existence we're harming countless beings. And that should increase our compassion. But to get sort of all holy because you don't eat meat is just really naive. I'm sorry. And the other thing is also including that point, I'll get to vows in a minute. We tend to think in the materialist world, that's reasonable, but that demand is what causes the death of the fish and the cows. Well, it's not the only thing. There's the strong karma that people who work in the slaughterhouse, work in the abattoir, the people who are the fishermen, they've got the karma to have that job. So if, you know, suddenly salmon run out, because, you know, they'll be able to go get some other kind of fish. Because the strong karma for a person to kill, they're going to find an object to be killed, promise you. Because all the people, the second point is, all the fish who get caught, all the chickens who get slaughtered, all the cows that get killed, all the pigs that get beaten, all the chickens that get harmed, they're probably the past fisherman, the past killer, the past slaughterhouse worker. So that's the point. Karma keeps going around in circles like a joke, you know. So as long as we keep killing, there's going to be people to get killed and there'll be people to continue to kill. And then the other one is this. This is a really good example and it's not demand. I remember in Maine years ago, you know, they're lobster country. And I remember reading that suddenly out of the blue, for no logical reason, not demand, 10 times more lobsters popped up in the waters of Maine. So initially, of course, the fishermen were delighted. But suddenly there was a glut of lobsters. It collapsed the price. So that's the karma of the fishermen. Due to stealing, to have their prices collapse, but the Maine government had to spend like $10 million marketing these damned extra lobsters. Now, no one invited the lobsters to come. That's due to karma. So your karma, if you don't factor karma in, it's not just enough to say, if you stop eating meat, there'll be, of course it's true, there'll be less, but the number, the tipping point is going to be pretty big. So don't hold your breath and think you're so virtuous just because you don't eat meat. And that's all I'm saying. It's not being cynical. And therefore the other option doesn't mean therefore it doesn't matter. That's not being said either. The first and key point is for your own sake. So for me, certainly, for me to not eat meat is the best practice. Why? Because I'm really attached to meat. If you give me a meal of my preference, since I'm born, cows, chickens, fishes, livers, hearts, I even tried a lung somewhere, it was disgusting. Butter, cheese and eggs. I'm an animal, I mean, you know, it's my karma. So for me to not eat meat and not eat animal thing is very good karma for me. But someone else, one of my sisters, has never eaten meat. And I asked her when she was like 64, why don't you eat meat? I haven't bothered to ask her before. Oh, whenever I see it, I see a cow. How could I eat it? I nearly burst into tears. I know it's a cow, but when you've got attachment. So for me, it's really good not to eat meat for my sake. My sister, she has to eat meat now. She's really sick. She doesn't like to do it. So how can you possibly say her karma's bad? I mean, it depends on the mind of the person your karma you create, you know. So as much as anything, the first step is to protect yourself from creating negative karma and have a pure motivation for doing it. Then you create virtue and then you live in vows of killing. That's even more powerful. And we'll discuss that in a second, but you had a question. No, I thought you had your hand up. It was a scratch or something. Yeah, you have. Okay.
What if your job is
I know, it's much heavier, obviously, isn't it?
Well,
it's clear.
But is there, so say a vet who has to euthanize on a daily basis?
Can't hear you, darling.
Say a vet who has to euthanize.
It's terrible. It's very sad for the vet.
A med technician who has to produce the drugs. Is there any sort of, I don't know, prayer or whatever?
I know, but yeah, that's fine. We can always do things that mitigate things. Everybody, if you feel you've got no choice but to eat sugar because you're a bit too weak and you can't not eat it, you've got to eat other things to mitigate the suffering of the sugar. It's a natural thing, not some kind of get off the hook thing. Do you get my point here? So yes, of course. Let's say, I mean, you know, even I remember one guy who had a family and he couldn't get. It was one place in one restaurant, and he was in tears because he had to do the meat. But you know, if he's got a really pure motivation, there's no other way to earn money to keep his family. You have as pure motivation as you can. You do other practices where he'd save the lives of animals and do special practices. You do mitigating things. I mean, you can't ever be perfect, but you don't try. It's not getting off the hook. That's how we tend to think. Or it's like going to the doctor. Can I eat sugar, please? Because I can't help it. Can you get me off the hook and don't give me diabetes? It's not like that. You get my point? So of course, that's why we've got to make our choices. And that's why we've got to prioritize and make decisions about what we want to do. So one of the first ones in Buddhism, and this is why it's so tough in our culture, the first one, they often say, if you want to give one piece of advice out of all of Buddhism, don't kill. At least attempt to not be involved in killing, because that's the heaviest of the negative karmas, which brings the heaviest of suffering for your own sake, as well as compassion. So all we can do is make a decision. So a person makes a decision, they want to be a Buddhist. Lots of people do that, and then you have a vow not to kill, and they change their lifestyle. You've got to make some decisions. You've got to prioritize, you know. It's not that easy, though. Do you understand? Yeah.
If someone steals something from me, or if, say, for example, I get really sick, how does that work with purifying karma?
Every time, okay. I remember in Miami one year, or somewhere in Florida, there was a topic, it was an all-day conference, half a day or something, and there was me, a Lutheran, a rabbi, and a Catholic. And the topic was, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, I gave my little, it was easy for me to talk about karma, you know. I didn't understand the Lutheran or the Catholic at all. But then the rabbi clapped. He was a Kabbalah rabbi. He said, we have the same view about karma. You know, it was very funny. So he said, every time something bad happens, you think, great, one less debt to repay. Well, it's the same with the Buddhist view, except it's not a debt because there's no one else involved. Every time a fruit comes, I think this is botany, isn't it? Every time a fruit comes, that's the fruit of a seed, isn't it? So you've just finished that seed, haven't you? So every time it's a good thing, that's the end of that seed. That's why bodhisattvas never like to have good things happen. They'd rather have bad things happen. They don't want to use up their merit. But every time something bad happens, you just finish that seed. So in that second, you've purified some negative karma. So delight, of course. Absolutely. But often what happens is you steal from me, I'll get mad and I'll steal right back, so we keep the ball rolling. But instead of that, rejoice in it, and that's a powerful view, and that really does take time. But those young nuns, they would have been able to do that, for sure. That was their view. Purifying hugely by having that experience, and by forgiving them and having compassion for them, hugely purifying mountains of negative karma, you know, finishing the negative karma. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you realize that, you don't have this victim view, because you know it's your fruit. You sowed it, you know. So you're happy that it's coming out, the dirt's coming out. What else, people?
Question.
Yes.
What if the motivation to kill is to save countless others?
Well, that's what everybody does. There's nothing virtuous about that. That's what everybody does who has a war. Nothing new about that.
I'm thinking of someone.
I know you are, but wars are that.
I'm thinking of an individual who's
I know, but
someone like a gunman.
no, I know, but it's the same thing as a war. It's exactly the same motivation. Because usually it's out of anger. It's very rarely out of compassion. It's usually out of, how dare that person harm me, so I'm going to harm them for the sake of my children, the sake of my country, the sake of that one person. It's better than killing them out of total anger, but usually it is with anger as well. So it's not that virtuous.
How does it fit with the bodhicitta?
Can't hear you, darling.
Sorry, how does it fit with the bodhicitta?
Bodhicitta,
It's done out of compassion.
it will be done out of compassion for the person you're killing. That's the difference. Hey, for their sake, to stop them suffering. That would be the real compassion.
That was a bit I was missing.
That's the peace. Oh my God. That's the peace, darling. That's real. Then that's really virtuous. If it were genuinely that motivation, not pretending. That's incredible. I have this story about the Buddha, one of the previous lives of the Buddha. You hear the story everywhere, and you have variations of it because it's just oral, you know. There's this, a previous, as a bodhisattva, already incredible realizations of clairvoyance, wisdom, compassion, all these things. And there was this, he was a captain of a boat. And he was a bodhisattva, so bodhisattvas bop along life after life, creating merit, connecting with human beings, supporting, helping, heading to Buddhahood, you know. So he was this captain of some boat, 500 merchants, and he could see clearly with his clairvoyance that one of these dudes was going to kill everybody and take everything for himself. So his compassion was for the other 499 people, but really for this guy, for the incredible suffering he would have in the future. Unbelievable compassion for harming himself. So he thought, I would rather go to the hell realms than this person. I will kill him instead. And his motivation was, I would rather have the suffering. So there's different interpretations in Buddhism. So even in the Hinayana tradition, they'd say, even though the compassion was incredible, there was still some negative karma there. But the Mahayana would say, not only was there no negative karma, it actually hastened his Buddhahood because the compassion was so stupendous. Do you understand? Now that we can't play with that one. Oh, I'm going to kill you for your sake. Yeah, right. You understand? That's really heavy duty. That's a profound one. But that we understand it in ordinary life. It's like a mother, you know, tough love. No more chocolate. Go to your room. And if you really are a good mother, it is from compassion. So that's where, when the bodhisattva level, in the first level, there's no wiggle room. Just don't harm. You train yourself to get the discipline to control your body and speech, and you calm your mind down. Now you get to the compassion wing, and your mind's more expansive. You could say, you could do a negative thing truly for the sake of another. In fact, the bodhisattva vows, there is a vow there to break an earlier vow if it's for the sake of another. But it's got to be genuine. Karma can't be fooled. It's a natural law, you know. Do you understand? That's really intense. And that's why that's quite heavy. The bodhisattva path really, it sounds all lovey-dovey about love and compassion, but it's very kind of intense level of really incredible wisdom and love and compassion, truly seeing the minds of others, really wanting to help them in any way possible. We'll go into that in more detail. But let's look into vows now and see why they're so potent, really, according to the Buddha. And I got a feeling it's kind of logical, psychologically. Okay, so the point about karma is everything our mind is doing every second is sowing seeds. So it's logical, if that's the truth and we want the best happiness possible for ourselves. We're not discussing compassion yet. Don't even worry about that. And you want the least suffering for yourself. And that's really the motivation for the first level of practice. Don't think that's an impure motivation. It's a very intelligent motivation. No one criticizes if you want to eat well because you want to be healthy. Well, here, you want to act well because you don't want to have suffering. It's very intelligent. So, if every millisecond your mind is doing something, then you're sowing seeds. So now, okay, right now we're sitting here, right? We're probably not killing anything. Okay, the bug's in our body, but we're not actively killing anything. Why? It's because there's no being right there that we have to go, oh my gosh, I better be careful not hurt that ant. So for us, when you're not meeting a sentient being and not living in a vow, it's only when you meet a sentient being and you have the thought, I must not kill it, that you pop a little virtuous seed of non-killing into your bank vault. Can you hear that? Because the intention, I will not kill, that's the karma of not killing. And we need bucket loads of those rich, intentional, non-killing karmic seeds coming from the thought, I will not kill, to be in our bank vault just to get a decent human body. Are you with me so far? So if we're sitting here right now being very nice people, but there's no thought to not kill, so we're creating zero karma of not killing. And we need millions of these really rich, intentional, non-killing karmic seeds coming from the thought, I will not kill. Are you with me, people? Now, if you have a vow not to kill, the Buddha would say that 24 hours a day, you're living in that vow, you're keeping it purely, you're conscious of the vow, it protects you, 24 hours a day. Whether you're thinking about it or not, whether you're asleep, having sex with your best new boyfriend, you are ticking over powerful, delicious, virtuous, strong, non-killing karmic seeds and dropping them into your main bank vault 24 hours a day. And you're putting atomic bombs under your habit to kill. So it is a no-brainer that the very least way to live a life of morality is to live in the vows of non-killing. And you can relax and put your feet up and eat popcorn and watch telly all day. And I'm not joking. Lama Zopa says you can have one person who has no vows, these first level of vows, doing masses of spiritual practice all day. And another person merely keeping their vow purely not to kill. The second person, because of the potency of vows, is creating more virtue and doing more purification. So that's kind of intense. And I've got a feeling it's kind of logically makes sense. You know, we all know as soon as you make a decision to do something, it's there on your shoulder protecting you, isn't it? When you say, I will not drive too fast. I mean, I had to do that in America because I always got speeding tickets. I mean, Australia as well. Everywhere I get speeding tickets. So I gave up driving because my tickets was so many. You know, in Australia, it's cameras. You never meet a policeman in Australia. They've got, you know, it's cameras everywhere. They're brilliant. They must make millions of dollars. So endless speeding tickets, you know, I just couldn't help it. Well, I could, but I didn't. But I knew when I made a decision, I will not go over the speed limit. Guess what the result is? Duh. I didn't go over the speed limit. So until you decide something, until your mind decides it, or when your mind decides it, it is more powerful, do you understand my point, than merely not doing it. It's really obvious. That's why people commit themselves in a relationship. You look at each other in the eye and you make a commitment to each other, and there are witnesses there. That's clearly psychologically more powerful because your mind decided it. And the more strong your mind decides something, the more result of the karma, both negative and positive. Are you with me, people? Yeah. So Buddha would say, like I said, you know, that they've got it's a subtle physical form, visible to clairvoyance, these vows. It's very powerful, very fascinating. And the other thing is, you know, when you take the vows, you take it from someone when you take refuge. You don't take these vows before you, the Buddhist vows, you can have your own vows, that's different. But this particular set of Buddha's vows, coming right back to the Buddha, you take in front of somebody when you take refuge, or afterwards. You take the refuge first, you commit to being a Buddhist, then you take the vows. So it's sort of very powerful, because Lama Zopa's given me permission to do it, for example. So, I will give it, and that person who would choose to take it from me, they've made their decision, because you see that person is one of your teachers, it's one of your commitments. Whoever you take it vows from, I've got vows from different lamas, so they're my teachers. So the point is, I find it very powerful that I received it from my teachers, they got it from theirs, they got it from theirs, and the validity of it and the power of it, for me it's like plugging into this power source. There's this unbroken chain of human beings right back to the Buddha. I find that very tasty, It's kind of this energy, and that's the oral lineage. But it's the same as everything. Don't make it religious. It's really the same as everything else. I always make ordinary examples to prove the point, My mother was a musician, okay, a classical musician. She completely respected the lineage. She looked at Mozart's music and the exact instruction, she would honour that instruction. And where did she get her knowledge from? From her musician. Where did they get it from? And you track it right back to Mozart in an unbroken chain of real living knowledge holders. It's exactly the same with any knowledge, anything. It's got real power. That's lineage. So powerful. So for me, that makes a lot of sense when you do that one. You take refuge, you commit yourself refuge, and you commit to certain things, and then you take the vows and you vow not to kill, not to lie. There are 5. The 10, there's a list of 10, but when you take the layperson's vows, 4 of those are extracted, and then there's 1 more. So the 4 are you vow not to kill any sentient being intentionally. We're doing it every second. It has to be intentional. You break in a major way such that you've got to take the vows again in front of somebody if you intentionally kill a human being. And intentionally breaking your vow is quite heavy. It's not often that you do it. It means it's a vow, you don't care, you do it, and you have no interest in fixing it. That's quite heavy. Second, you break in a minor way if you intentionally kill any other creature, and that's where it's really quite difficult for us in the West. But that means intentional. It's intentional. We're killing all the time, You can't help, you don't care, you don't not care. But you realise that, but it's got to be intentional. Intention is karma. That's why even if you're having the meat to eat, and you think, I'm so glad that person killed that cow, that's worse than killing. You're rejoicing in someone else killing. Just right there, that thought. But if you have compassion, and you blow a mantra on the meat, you could argue there's less karma, Everything you do can be mitigated. It's a dependent arising. It's not set in stone, And it's not black and white, it's quite nuanced. The more we understand karma, the more subtle it is. We've got to start with simple laws, though, simple instructions, So the next vow is taking the ungiven, as the Tibetans would very nicely translate what we call stealing. It's a great term, taking the ungiven. So that's a really good one. It's a very rigorous one. We often just don't give things back. We don't really think about it. We just press a button on the computer. We download stuff that wasn't given to us, or we argue it was. So it's a really good one to have, Not take the ungiven. You break in a major way if you take something of value to someone else. And you break in a minor way if you take anything that wasn't given to you. So it really helps. When you have that vow, it protects you. It's there, you walk on the street, you see a flower. So maybe if it's a public park, you could argue it's, I don't know if it's true. Can you pick the flower in a public park? A person's garden, I'm sorry, it's not your flower, you're called stealing, It really helps you be very strict, not be lazy about it. And that purifies your mind. It's your benefit. You're the beneficiary here, no one else. You break in a minor, the next one is lying. And lying is, you break in a major way if you lie about your spiritual attainments, which is always why it's best just to speak nothing about your spiritual practice. Keep it private. It's your own private business, And then you break in a minor way if you say anything that is not true, and always a lie is something that purposely is for your own sake that misleads somebody. We can see how confusing it is. And the 4th one is no sexual misconduct. And there's lots of ways in the text that's interpreted very strictly, but the general way is no cheating on partners or taking someone else's partner. And also, as His Holiness always says, don't rape, don't misuse, don't be violent, don't misuse your body to harm others based on your own attachment, The 5th one is no intoxicants. So you don't have to take all these 5. You can take, if you need your heroin shot every day, then you leave the 5th one alone, okay? You don't take it. Are we communicating here? They're the 5 vows. And vows, I mean, so if you have a practice where you at least begin to attempt not to harm others, and then eventually maybe you take refuge if you have, then you take the 5-day vows and you do a purification practice every day, I can say you've got a perfect practice. You really have. And you can guarantee that when you die, you'll die well and happily and get at least another decent human rebirth with decent conditions so you can keep on practicing your spiritual path. Because it's a natural law, it's logical. It's not hit and miss. It's not cross your fingers and hope for the best. It's law, it's logical. So any questions about that? About vows and things? Yes.
So what would be an example of a purification?
A bit louder, darling.
What would be a daily purification?
We'll go. Did we talk about the 4 opponent powers? We didn't yet. Oh, we will do it. We'll discuss it. We will discuss it. What time is it? Keep me on track. I'm sorry.
11:39.
Okay. We can begin discussing it now. We'll go into it and we'll do the meditation as well at some point. Okay. Given that everything we think and do and say sows seeds, so this first approach is at least refrain from sowing more negative seeds. And this next one, the next level, is to take care of the seeds we've already planted. Let's say, assuming it's true, we've got countless lifetimes, and there are billions of negative karmic seeds in our bank vaults that haven't yet ripened as our suffering. So it goes without saying, we've got to purify them, prevent them from ripening. That's the point, prevent them from ripening. Prevent those weeds from ripening. And that's what the so-called purification practice is. And it's exactly the same as any other approach to karma. It's a series of thoughts. Karma is made by your mind. In this case, it's mainly mental. It can also include physical and verbal in the way you purify. So let's go through the 4 steps. There are 4 steps. And there's a different order, but this order, the one I'll give here, I like a lot. So the 4 steps are the 4 R's. Who was it, Nikki? Was it your funny idea? Where's Nikki? Was it you with your glammy or something? Yeah. She's got this weird extra level that she remembers it by some other method. It's very peculiar. I could never do it. I wouldn't. It's your way it works for you, you know. Yes. So the 4 R's, okay? The first one is regret. The second one is reliance. The third one is resolve. The 4th one is the remedy. And the 4th is resolve. All this is in your teachings, in your teachings book, detailed. So what? Just for the sake of it, what was your weird method?
Glands, because all 4 of the words start with R-E.
And so then,
and then the next letter is
G, regret,
L,
reliance, L,
M,
remedy, M,
and
resolve, S. But that's so fascinating that your mind works that. We've got to think of an extra thing on top, a reminder of it. But that's very fascinating. That works for her mind. Good on her. What's yours?
Good lions make supper.
That's your method. That's very fascinating. You both did the same thing. That's amazing. I'm completely impressed. I can't believe it. That's unbelievable. Blows my mind, that does. So let's go through the ordinary boring method of the 4 R's, okay? But it's a very logical process if you think of it in ordinary terms. And then lamas use the analogy of if you've just taken poison. So we know the meaning of eating poison is that you will get sick in the future. And the future might be quite quick, right? So we know that. So the obvious, intelligent response the moment you discover there was poison in your dinner is, oh my God, what an idiot. I can't believe myself. Quick, where's the doctor? Do you understand my point? Or where's the remedy? That's the first thing, instantaneously. No one has to push you to think that, because you know you don't want suffering. It's really clear. That's the exact analogy for here, but this takes us so long to get because we're so tortured by the blame mode, you know. We can't hear it simply, but it's so practical. So it's exactly the same here in the sense that you go, oh my God, I just killed that ant, you know. Quick, what can I do to fix it? That implies you have the view of karma, which means you did the action and just can't be bothered. You saw the ant in the sink and you noticed your lazy mind couldn't be bothered saving it. So there was some kind of intention there. Do you understand my point? A very mild action, but you suddenly catch yourself. Oh my God, I can't believe I let that ant die. Quick, how can I fix it? Now, to say that implies so much understanding in the law of karma, doesn't it? Because it means the first thing we'd normally do is go, oh, well, it's not my fault. I couldn't help it. We get yourself off the hook. You get my point? Because we think of the punishment mode. But this is, you know, you don't, if you've just eaten the poison, you don't go to the doctor and say, can you get me off the hook and stop getting me suffering? Like I said before. No, you know it's going to have a result to you because it's a natural law. That's the attitude here. So the first, but I always quote this, always. So His Holiness was asked one time the difference between guilt and regret, this attitude here. And that's just interpretation of this word. You can call it anything you like. Or regret, or what's another word we use in English?
Shame?
No, not shame. For a better one, for the Buddhist one. Regret, there's another word, I can't think of it. Never mind. But what we have is guilt. So he was asked, what's the difference? And it was so clear in his answer. He said, huh?
Remorse?
Yeah, remorse, another one, that's right. But let's just use the word regret here. Remorse is good too. So he says, guilt, you look in the past and you go, I did this and I did that and I did this, the naughty things, and then you automatically conclude, and I'm a bad person. This, we mightn't even be articulate in saying those words, but that philosophical view is the view of ego grasping, and it's the dualistic view of blame, innocent victim, poor me. Guilt puts all the blame on you, but it's exactly the same as saying you did this and you did that and you did this and you're a bad person. So guilt, and this is me saying now, not His Holiness, guilt is anger, but turn to yourself. That's all. Guilt is self-hate. Guilt is anger against you. Anger is anger against someone else. That's it. So simple. So guilt and anger, therefore, are utterly useless states of mind. And guilt is actually self-indulgence. It's really very self-centered. There's no accountability. It's a way of, almost like we think guilt is virtue. That's the energy of self-pity. I'm not being cruel about us. The self-pity me, as Lama Yeshe puts it. The energy of self-pity and guilt and self-hate is almost like it's virtuous. We want people. You know, a person can tell you 27 times you're a good person. We're hungry to hear it again, but we will not believe it. It's so bizarre, you know. It shows the self-indulgence of self-hate. We kind of feel sorry for ourselves in the West, like, you know, we hate ourselves, like we should be feeling sorry for ourselves. We should be. But we indulge it. As soon as it's anger against someone else, we want to kill them. But there's the same problem. And that's the irony of ego. We love to hate ourselves. That's why we're so addicted to misery. And we almost think it's virtuous. We wallow in it. And that's why 27 people can say you're a nice person. You don't believe it. One person says you're mean. Instantly you believe it 100%, which simply proves what you believe yourself. That's your own view. So it's kind of ironic about ego, you know. And this is what causes us suffering. So guilt is just and that's the key point too. When we understand the key function in Buddhist psychology of all the delusions, the key function is to exaggerate. That's why they're misconceptions. They exaggerate the status of something. So attachment exaggerates the status of whatever it is we're attached to. We put too much power into that food, into somebody loving me. We give power to that as if suddenly when I get that, I'll get happy. We over-exaggerate the power of the object that attachment thinks will give me happiness. Well, anger over-exaggerates the ugliness of the object, and guilt is just simply over-exaggerating your ugliness. And in fact, it's not logical. It's not logical. The Christians have a wonderful saying. Don't blame the sinner, blame the sin. This is really logical. So that person, you know, if Kevin's my boyfriend, he's done 7 mean things, but he's done 4,220 good things over our life. But we all know when the bad things are done, they override all the good things and you forget all about them. And it's the same with ourselves. We have got so many good qualities, every single one of us. We have so much goodness. We have so much merit. We have so fortunate, so much virtuous karma, but all we remember is the bad things. It's really quite shocking, you know. And we do it willingly. We habitually do it. So guilt is over-exaggerating. In other words, you did do a bad, and this is, okay, now regret, this is the point. Regret is this healthy attitude. The first point is exactly the same. I did do this, and I did do that, and I did do this. But the conclusion is different. And that's what we have to practice doing. What can I do to fix it? Where's the doctor? Where's the remedy? How can I fix it? That's optimism, that's intelligence, it's self-respect, it's action. Guilt is no action, it's just misery. And you just get deeper in a hole, and it's useless. That's why anger is useless, guilt is useless. So we've got to consciously change it though. So this first attitude of regret, then what we're saying is, what you do is, we'll do it in a kind of friendly, casual way. We'll see, maybe tonight, we'll see. You just sit there very casually and you think first, okay, there's ways you can do this in a very formal way with rituals and lots of Sanskrit and different things and prayers and blah, and that's fine. It's a very powerful practice. One does a retreat in this for 3 months, But also there's a very simple, down-to-earth way to do it, very human and ordinary, which is so important because it makes it real, like real psychology, not some kind of religious thing. And in this practice too, I find so powerful because you're being your own friend. This has got zero to do with being rewarded. It's got zero to do with being forgiven. It's you changing your mind. You doing each of these 4 steps for your benefit as well as the sake of others. But this first step is purely for your sake. It's you acknowledge, like today, what did I do today? I badmouthed Mary. I killed the ant. I murdered the... Whatever you did. You acknowledge you did it. You think of some of the main things. And then you go, well, you know what, Robina, I regret that. And you have to say why. Because you know what, Robina, I don't want those karmic seeds to keep ripening in my mind. I don't want the future suffering. And that's why this takes so long, because it's very abstract for us. The idea of karma and reincarnation is very abstract, that we cause future rebirths. It's very weird for us. We don't have much confidence in that at all. So if you want to try and have that, you've got to spell this out. You regret it because you don't want the future suffering. That's the logic of regret. No other reason. Here, it's you, for your benefit. It's like the first level of practice. It's for your sake. So you've got to spell it out to yourself, speak it out to yourself. And that means you don't want the future results, and you know maybe one that is real for you. You know you don't want this habit. You're sick of this habit. You're sick of the angry mind. You're sick of the mean words. You're sick of bad-mouthing your boyfriend. Even that you can say with confidence, because I'm sick of this habit. Even that you can see. You know you don't want that. That's the point of regret. It's for your sake. It's like compassion for you. You've got to spell it out properly. So then you can think of anything you've done in this life that you've harmed others. I always think of my abortion when I was 23. I've done lots of other things, but you remember certain things, and you always just regret because I don't want the future suffering. And then you can go, anything I've ever done since beginningless time with my body and speech to harm sentient beings, I regret from the depths of my heart because I don't want the future suffering. This is really powerful. This is the first step. It's like acknowledging, owning. It's like, like here I am with my lungs not so good these days, and maybe it is because I used to smoke for 20 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 Marlboros at some point. You couldn't do that now. You have to be in a room isolated to smoke 80 cigarettes a day because you get arrested, wouldn't you? But I did at the worst time. When I was in the middle of smoking marijuana and speed, I'd have my 80 Marlboros. I'm serious, I did. 40 was normal. Anyway, so like all those years of smoking, then I think now, here I am old, then of course I'm going to regret that out of my ignorance, I didn't know that it would mess up my lungs and I can't walk up to Lawudo now. Do you understand? I regret it because look at the suffering it's caused me. That's not guilt. That's not saying, oh, I shouldn't have done it. That's useless. You're not saying I shouldn't have done it. That's meaningless. You did do it out of ignorance and you didn't know the consequences. So what a fool I was. I didn't realize the harm I'm causing myself. It's like kindness to yourself. It's like kindness to yourself, this attitude, this regret, because I'm sick of the suffering and I don't want future suffering. Of course I regret the dumb things I've done. We should be so happy to do that. That's the first step. That opens the door to the next steps. Then you think, well, whom can I turn to? Whom can I rely upon to give me methods, to give me the remedies that I can apply to fix myself? That's the difference if you're a Christian. You can do the first step similar, but now you turn, the main reason you regret is because you went against God's will. And you beg God to forgive you. That's not what you're doing here. You're not regretting because you did what someone said you shouldn't do, and you're not turning to Buddha to forgive you. That's completely different logic. Here, you turn to the Buddha as your doctor, whose methods you want to use. Wow, how amazing. So that's the next step. You visualize. We do this method. It's going to be a bit breathy. I suppose all this talking, I don't breathe properly, you see. Usually afterwards I yawn, gigantic yawns, because I don't take enough breaths. It's the same here now. My head's swirling, hang on. Okay. So you do your regret, then you go to the next step and you rely upon the Buddha. The second step, reliance, has 2 parts. The first one is you visualize the Buddha. And there's a particular way we do this practice, and we visualize Buddha from the Vajrayana called Vajrasattva. We'll describe all this later. We're just above our head, we visualize the Buddha. We'll go into this later, the details, and you take refuge. In other words, you're delighting that you've got someone whose methods you can use to purify your crazy mind, to stop you from future suffering. That's the attitude of regret, of reliance, of refuge. That's the meaning of refuge. Refuge, they say, it's like going to a doctor. First, you have to check up that doctor's valid. You're confident in their methods. And second, the reason you go to a doctor is either preventative medicine or curative, isn't it? You don't go to a doctor because they're cute. Do you understand my point? You go because you want their medicine. That's the view of the Buddha. At this first level, you're sick of suffering. That's the reason to become a Buddhist. Not because you think he's nice, he looks holy or something. That's the first level. For yourself. We don't like having this. We think it's selfish. This is really mistaken thinking, you know. It's so unnecessary. This is called renunciation. Then the second part is confusing for us why they put it under the heading of reliance, and I'll explain it. But it takes a while to hear this. It's weird for us. The second part of reliance is we rely upon suffering sentient beings. That's how they say it. And we have compassion now for those we have harmed. The first one's like compassion for ourself, of the suffering we cause ourself, which is the basis of regret for our sake. Now we have compassion and we regret for the sake of others. We must purify for their sake. But the thing is, why do they call it reliance? Why do they say we rely upon suffering sentient beings? Well, it's got real logic to it. Let me explain. This is the compassion wing part. So let's put it like this. Let's say, you know, you become the best herbalist in the universe. You know every herb on the planet. You know how to heal everybody with your herbs, right? So you know you've got the wisdom to heal and you've got the compassion that wants to heal. But what if you never meet a sick person? You'd be devastated, wouldn't you? Do you understand my point? You need sick people, right? Don't you? Why? Because you know you don't need it for your own sake selfishly, but you've got this wisdom, you've got this knowledge, you've got this compassion. If you never meet sick people, how tragic. You can't help anybody. So you need lots of sick people. You get my point? And that drives your compassion to keep wanting to heal more, you know? That's what the meaning here is. That's what a bodhisattva is. A person, you know, that's why the wisdom wing is up in the mountains. You're in the retreat mode. When you got that down, you come down to the maniac cities enjoying the crazy universe. The more, the better. Crazy sentient beings are the grist for the mill for the bodhisattvas. They don't want the boring old trees. They want the crazy cities and the mad people, because they're the ones they can help. You get my point? So as Geshe Sopa said, bodhisattvas need their enemies, best of all. The best object of compassion is the one who harms you. Why? Because that rips out your ego, increases your capacity to be the best doctor possible. That's why, you know, if you've got this analogy of the doctor, you don't just go sit in your little room and have a sign up and put a Band-Aid on somebody. You go to the what do you call, the Doctors Sans Frontières, don't you? You jump in the deep end and go to the war zone, so you can really exercise your ability to really help the most suffering people. That's the bodhisattva attitude. Do you understand my point? So here, the second step, we now have compassion for those we've harmed. We regret for their sake. You think about that, have genuine compassion. Then you think, if you're brave enough, to have compassion for those who've harmed you. That's the real compassion. Why? Because they will suffer in the future for what they've done. It's like, for me, that's compassion of a mother. You know, she's got this junkie kid. Everybody else hates the junkie kid. She vomits in the soup, she steals things, no one can stand her. But the mother has such compassion because she sees that her beloved daughter is harming herself. That's the basis of compassion. We harm ourselves, you know. So that's the second part, refuge and then compassion. You just give it a bit of thinking, you think it through. Then that's why to make it personal is good. Not, you can general all sentient beings, but you think of those you've harmed, the person you were mean to, the ants you killed, the baby you aborted. You have compassion for them, and I regret for their sake now. And then you have compassion for anybody you've harmed since beginningless time. The third step is you take the remedy. You apply the antidote. So there's a whole medicine cabinet of medicines in Tibetan, in Buddhism. And they're simply practices you could do. So in general, the antidote to something is the opposite, isn't it? So if you've regretted killing, a really excellent antidote throughout your life is to save animals, to help people, to go buy a few worms and release them, That's a powerful action. It's the direct opposite to killing, isn't it? If you're regretting lying, well, make an extra effort to speak the truth. That's obviously weakens the habit. So we must do that no matter what. But here, there's a particular practice in formal meditation where we use the visualization of the Buddha and the recitation of a mantra. And as I've said to you, and I'll say more about this, for the Tibetans especially, for the Vajrayana model, any practices that involve the Buddhas are infinitely more powerful because of the power of enlightened beings. This is not superstition, this is logical, you know. Anyway, you do this practice, this third step, you visualize certain nectar like we did this morning, variations of what we did this morning. Many of the meditations are just variations of purifying your body, speech and mind, you know, while we recite a certain mantra. And then the fourth step is the most important, as Bongkol Rinpoche says, the resolve. It's the determination to change. As, you know, so as Lama Zopa says, regret's the first step, opens the door to it. And then Pabonka says this is the most important because you can keep regretting killing until the cows come home. But if you don't make a decision to stop killing, nothing will ever change. So this is where you make some decisions to change. And that's why vows are so potent. I'm feeling a bit very weird. Excuse me, I'm just confessing to feeling weird. Hang on a second.
You're also in the direct sun.
Do you need an umbrella for maybe? It's the sun.
It's hot, the sun.
I like the sun, but I suppose maybe it's not liking it. Maybe it's too shocking and too quick. What's that? It's nearly lunchtime, isn't it? Okay, we're nearly ready.
12 now.
Must be the sun, mustn't it? Okay. Whew. So, okay, the fourth step is the determination to change. So if you've taken vows already, all you do is reiterate your vows, like you're digging the groove deeper in your mind. I will never kill. And it's not like wishful thinking. It's like you're increasing. It's like practicing playing the piano. Every time you practice it, guess what? You get better at it. It's not rocket science. So every time you say, I will never kill, you increase the habit to not kill. It's so potent. I will never lie. I will never steal. But you don't lie to yourself. And you've got really bad habits. You know, so you do a little thinking here, you give yourself a timeline, and you're very clear about this, you're very real, it's not just sort of blind, empty words, you're very sincere. So let's say you've got an old habit to do certain things, and just, you know, so you really make some decisions. Well, okay, I won't badmouth my boyfriend for 5 hours. Sincerely. Then you'll do it. When you're determined to do something, that's when the shift happens. And that's what this fourth step is. So the more determined, so then the more likely it is that you'll actually start to change and you get more confidence. And that's where it's an interesting point, just before we go for lunch, where I think we misuse, in our relationships, we misuse each other in this thing about forgiveness. Let's say, you know, Chuck's my boyfriend, and I'm always bad-mouthing him, shouting him in the morning and shouting him, and then I'm driving to work, I'm getting all guilty and neurotic, because mainly I'm just scared he's going to reject me. It's not very virtuous. So I'm desperate to get on the phone. I'm so sorry, Chuck, I really am bad-mouthing you again. And then all I'm waiting for is Chuck to say, it's all right, Robina, I still love you. And he'd go, oh, phew, off the hook again. That's not enough. If he was really my friend, he would say, I'm happy to forgive you, Robina, but you've got to start making some changes, baby. Because my forgiveness is clearly not helping you. And that's when he'd really be my friend. But we don't do that because we all play to each other's egos, you know. So we can misuse forgiveness. In other words, I'm using him to make me feel better. How dare I? That's very wicked. I've got to be responsible. Do you understand my point? So they're the four opponent powers. And we can have questions. You can discuss this in your discussion group. So what are you going to do today? You're going to have your lunch. You can have wisdom talking and compassion talking. Remember the 2 wings? That's going to be motivating your talking. Then you're going to relax for this 2 hours, and then you have another hour at 2 o'clock where you just grab 2 or 3 of you, no more. Grab 2 or 3 of you and rip to pieces whatever we've heard. So maybe karma's been a good topic today. Very precise. We've gone into different things. The 4 ways that you have a complete action, the motivation, how that counts, the whole thing of meat eating, meaning karma meaning the mind, how that plays the role, that kind of thing. And then the one about the 4 opponent powers. So if what you remember from it, see if you can discuss all that and come up with some ideas and questions when we meet again at 3 o'clock. Yeah? Okay. So today, noon lunch, 3 teachings, 5 tea, 6:30 dinner. Yeah? Is that right?
Where will the teachings be?
In the back in the Gompa. Yeah. Yeah? So if you like to have it here in the mornings, you like it here in the mornings? In the hot sun? I might have an umbrella. It might be a good idea. Yeah. Okay. So, Jamshub Semtro, Rinpoche, Ma Kie Panam Kie Guchi, Kie Panyampa Me Payang, Gong Ne Gong Du Pabasho, Gewa Di, Nudo Dag, Lama Sangi Drubgyune, Drowa Chikyang Malupa, De Sala, Gurpa Shog.